and to use this as an infrastructure for the national interest of the Afghanistan. So what we will discuss in this panel in particular, uh, we will we will talk about these terms and also the meaning behind it, and also we will talk and speak in a more comprehensive manner about the interpretations of it. Uh, we have very distinguished panelists. Uh, each one of our very distinguished panelists have good experience. They are three panelists, and Mr. Humayun Tandar, former ambassador of Afghanistan in London. Uh, while he was in the embassy, he worked very much. And the second panelist is Dr. Sardar Muhammad Rahimi. He is the Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Education for the Literacy section. And he knows very well about the geopolitical location of Afghanistan. And also the third panelist, Dr. Fardeen Hashimi. He is the chairperson of the Afghanistan Development Studies Organization. So we have our distinguished panelists with us, and we will start the discussion. So we will also give the floor to each one of them to speak. And this is a subject which is quite a different subject, and it will be quite interesting to hear from our distinguished panelists. Welcome once again, and we will first start with Mr. Sardar Muhammad Rahimi. Dr. Saib, if you could please tell us about the location of Afghanistan and also about the advantages of our location, and what is the significance that we have according to the geopolitical location in the region at the level and as well as at the international level. In the name of Allah, entirely merciful, specially merciful. The geopolitical location of Afghanistan this is something that always we talked about it, and as most of the problems that we have, it is mainly for this particular issue. The there are different definitions about this particular issue. it is our geopolitical uh, location is defining a lot of issues. We there are geographical capacities. It's a technical term. Dr. Saib, if you could speak a little bit louder. Sure. Uh, so we will talk about the so about the geographical dimension of this issue. If we talk, I mean, we can have assessment and we can assess different dimensions of this issue. Uh, so a country has different dimensions, for example, political dimension, economical dimension, and every dimension is related to the or geopolitical location is something that is having a direct impact on everything in a country. So we know countries according to their geopolitical location, and as I mentioned earlier, it contains physical and also intellectual elements. Uh, and geopolitic location is having a direct impact on the country's role in the region. It contains all the cultural and economical plus physical and intellectual elements of the country. So there is a very direct connection of everything with the geopolitics of a location of a country. So, for example, uh, you may have seen countries that they were not such as much developed 30 years ago, but they now have paid attention to their geopolitical location and geopolitical issues, and that's how that they have developed furthermore. Uh, if we get back to the previous times, so we had like terms like Middle East. That means that the world was considering that particular area, for example, by that particular name, and they were like having a a totally different definition from that location. Uh, and the countries are recognized according to their geopolitical location, and that's how that they have identified their interest. I mean, every country around the globe is identifying their or selecting their interest according to their geopolitics. But Afghanistan, unfortunately, since the past few decades, we have not played our role very well. For example, um, uh, Afghanistan as a country uh, could not define its geopolitical location. Uh, in this regard, enough attention has not been paid, and all the uh, opinions that all the views that we have from the geopolitics of Afghanistan, that is from 60 years ago. So it means that we are not changing, and it means that we are not making ourselves compatible with the current situation. So if somebody asks us today something uh, for that, what do you say if somebody is telling us something about the geopolitics? We cannot define our geopolitics to him or her properly, because in this regard enough research has not been done or enough work has not been done. So I mean, before everything in a country, the geopolitics is very much important to be defined. And also our elites should understand fully this issue. Uh, I would like to thank Mr. Hashimi and Dr. Saib Asi for because they are have been working about these issues recently, and currently the geopolitics of Afghanistan compared to the geopolitics of the other neighboring countries uh, has not been in that. I mean, it has not been defined very well. So I do respect President Ghani's view. Uh, but when he is trying to connect the countries in the region through Afghanistan, so that is like good initiative. And it is not impossible that we get back our geopolitic significance, but it requires hard work. And so I will wrap up in one more minute. So this is something that we have started work on it since 2011, and we are hopeful that these discussions continues, and we hope that we define our geopolitics according to the language of the world and according to the literature of the world. So, and we will not be able to get to the peace. It will not be possible to get to the peace unless we define our geopolitics properly, and unless we create a link between our geopolitics and also the geopolitics of the region and the world. Then we can be successful and we will be able to have peace. And also it will furthermore help us to have an easy process in order to get to the peace. And otherwise we will be working in a scattered manner. Thank you so much. Thank you, so much very geopolitics to Latin words. Uh, it gives two meanings for Afghans. Some of them even don't understand, but those who are educated, um, they have an opinion when you are telling them this term. But the thing is that some of the politicians, they even don't pay attention to the geopolitical term or geo-economical or other terms similar to this. But I think so. If you read the books that are written regarding the geopolitical issues of the world, so you will find the Afghanistan like in all the books. So it shows that Afghanistan in the past, from the geopolitical perspective, had a great significance that several times in almost all the books that are written regarding the geopolitical issues, the name of Afghanistan has been mentioned over there in different stories in different segments. Lord Curzon, uh, a former foreign minister from UK, he had a definition from Afghanistan. He's in the definition said that Afghanistan is an empty area. It is not Russian, not Persian, and not. I mean, this was mainly his definition that Afghanistan is in an empty space. So Surafa, he said that this is like quite a significant geography. This is something that is from the Britishers. This was the definition that they had a long time ago from Afghanistan. That one of their scholars said, or one of the elites over there said that Afghanistan is like an empty space. So uh, it is connecting like different parts of the Asia. And and Afghanistan and Middle East and South Asia and East and West Asia. So in here Afghanistan plays a role between all these parts. So so that's how that we will hear from our next speaker about these issues and what he have got to say about the geopolitics of Afghanistan and about the term and the definition about of this issue. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I will try to be brief. Well, with regards to the geopolitics of Afghanistan, well, this position, well, of course, I mean, with regards to the geopolitics, and also with regards to the current context of the country, the Soviet the Soviet Union when they came to Afghanistan, and also after when the Soviet Union left Afghanistan.
Well, if we see, like, they're all, I mean, Southern Asia, Central Asia, and also they were considered quite important from the geopolitical point of view, and also Central Asia. And also in this region, if we see, I mean, from the year 1948 till now, that we see competition here, of systems here. So if you consider different countries, for instance, Iran and Turkey, and other countries, so they can put an impact on the security situation of Afghanistan. And also relations between China, Iran, and United States. So these issues itself can put an impact on the situation, on security situation of Afghanistan. So when we are talking about the situation of Afghanistan, well, in every phase of the history, so there is a broader picture so that you should study. I mean, Afghanistan, like, it's situated between the competition of different countries. So if you study the history, even from the time of Indo-Pakistan, for instance, Afghanistan was a ground of politics uh, uh, for the policies of both countries. And if we go forward, and it shows that the policies of the region can highly impact the situation in Afghanistan. And I also want to wrap up. We cannot say that we have a key strategic position, but in fact, we have to define ourselves with regards to the position that now we are at. And also, we should have a proper understanding about our position, and come and prepare our foreign policy with regards to that, and try to make good policies with regards to that. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Well, I know that you will observe time and you will talk 5 minutes. Well, okay, thank you so much. Well, as I have lived in Herat for a few years, so I will talk in Herati language. My question to you is the position of Afghanistan. What is the position of Afghanistan in Asia? and diplomatic tools that Afghanistan have in hand. So what are those tools? What do we have? French, UK, Brussels, and European Union, that they play they play a role in the Afghanistan. So how will you define the current position of Afghanistan? In the name of Almighty Allah. Well, as a forward, I wanted to present few points. First, I would say that the first quarter of the 21st century is the quarter where we had casual. Well, the four major points, they focus on one geographical position and and we witnessed adversities. We witnessed that the system of the country was collapsed. So these four elements taken into consideration, and the other elements, it impacted other points as well. And the next point that we witnessed in the 20th century, we saw that there were two leading elements, the elements of religious. So if we leave, if so today, if we see like 1/3 of the people across the world, they are following the regime, religious, and also their nationalism. That's what they were following. Last year, the Putin, of Putin, for instance, they are opening Orthodox abbey or church. So we, with regards to the separatism of these two elements, it is to these two other elements of religion and nationalism. So we have, for example, for instance, the current Turkey. We are in a position in Turkey between two parties, as we all know, that, for instance, we see now there that how the politics of how their politics have been affected by these two elements. Well, I'll come to your issue. This just want to make this interesting, and with well, we have one another element of, we have European Union. So there are some certain points that we cannot ignore. Another characteristic that we see now, that is the current strategy. So if we talk about the current strategy, like there is no Facebook or there is no any other thing. In fact, strategy is for a long time. And another term, and the new element that it has its own impact, that is the issue of COVID-19. So we should follow the wealth and economy. Well, the economic growth of China for this year, it was estimated that it will increase by 3%. So they also, when it comes to the international trade and business, China has 20% average, but this year it was supposed to increase till 25%. So this is a new element. So as it was pointed out earlier, we well, it is, for instance, the country has been colonized actually, and as I talked about the history, this is, I mean, our mindset. This is in our mindset. So the history shows that the colonization, which is in the southern provinces of Afghanistan, it was ended in the World War II. So here there are, I mean, still some we have these elements to say, we can see these elements to some extent in Afghanistan. For instance, Germany, they are looking to find a position or for instance, that was the impartiality, their impartiality actually in the World War II. So then after this, we have the issue of fashion. Fashion, I mean, uh, like 10 years ago, we were playing a bridging role. We have passed that decade now. We have come to a different phase. In fact, the point is, we are talking about crossroad, like crossroad in a desert. So now from this desert, where should we go? This is what we have to decide. Well, I just want to be brief about our position in the southern Asia. Well, the southern Asia, it has sustainable turbulence. In southern Asia, if we want to organize ourselves well, we need strategic work. We owe the most backwarded economy in the southern Asia, and the current change we actually or in an equation that on its and like it is led by the tensions between India and Pakistan, and we are also unfortunately part of this equation. So if we do not study this properly, unfortunately the conflict will go on in Afghanistan and we will not find good position.
So, the fundamental discussion is about the location of Afghanistan and the geopolitics of Afghanistan, whether the current geopolitical location of Afghanistan is in a seat or this is a disadvantage that naturally Afghanistan has. So, or this is a source for the instability of Afghanistan. President Ghani and a number of other politicians, they are claiming that the current location of Afghanistan is in a seat for Afghanistan. Uh, so this discussion in this dialogue, whether that Afghanistan is this geopolitical location is in a seat or not. During the contemporary history of Afghanistan, Britishers, Germans, and France, they so the first uh, the first book that was written about Afghanistan, if you read that, so the geopolitical location of Afghanistan is mostly ignored there. My question to Mr. Doctor is the different narrations that are there since the time of colonialization. So, how do you define? What do you want to say about that? And how Afghans can solve the problems and can get to can have a proper identity. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak. So there are some national interests that are like temporary interest. So see that Pakistan is not leaving Afghanistan because in Afghanistan there is a geopolitical interest of the Pakistan, and and because they want to have a upper hand in Asia. And also Iran, they have their own geopolitical interest in Afghanistan, and they also have geopolitical interest in Syria and also in other places. India, they also have their geopolitical interest in parts of Asia. So you see that they don't leave some of the areas. And you saw the problems, that despite all the problems that they had, still they are not stepping back. And so the geopolitical interests, the countries are like trying to protect it with any cost. So we even see the world powers that they are pursuing their geopolitical interest in other countries as well. It doesn't matter 1% or 2% what they are saying, but what it matters is Afghanistan. That how Afghanistan should be sort of connected, and how Afghanistan should utilize this opportunity. And the lack of coordination in this regard caused us to be failed. And so the other thing I would like to say is that our current geopolitical location is not limiting our hands to one place, but we can have access to different areas. This is what a geopolitical location allows us to. Uh, so uh, you see that from the Middle East, the corridors are coming to Afghanistan, and from Pakistan to Afghanistan, there is a corridor that can be there, and also with the different parts of the Asia, with the different parts of the Asia, we can have corridors. But uh, uh, it cannot be done in one night. So slowly, and uh, we have to be moving forward, and we have to define this issue for ourselves clearly. So there are some issues in the country that I don't want to go into the details of that. So, but I mean, I want to say uh, that it is not right to deal with the issues like that are like little, not having a great significance, but we have to first deal with the issues that are having a great significance. So we have to create a sort of an environment that till the original countries could not have any other option instead of helping us. So we are now a kind of a place that, or like we are like a pot that doesn't have a cover. So everyone is throwing everything in here. So, but it's okay, we have neighbors, but we have to have a border and a controlled border, and everything should be controlled. So this is up to us, that how we create our narrations. It doesn't mean that we are separate from the Asia, and So, I mean, it doesn't mean that the situation in Asia will not be having an impact on us. So, we have to adopt ourselves according to every kind of situation, and we should be able to define our interests continuously, and also, and if we do this at the original level, that will be very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Doctor. The next question directed to Mr. Hashimi. Afghanistan uh, is the extension of the South Asia geopolitics, and also the extension of the Persian or Farsi geopolitics, and also one another he mentioned aspect. So I do remember one time when I was told that the security radius of us is longer, but I was thinking about something else. But they were actually trying to say that they are security extensions of the issue. So, uh, f- so for example, like if they were like saying that if we don't maintain security in Damascus, so then the Tehran will be insecure. So they had a kind of a security line. Whether Afghanistan has a security radius or a security line or extension, or a new proxy war with the new proxies from Iran, Pakistan, and are involved because the previous actors were Russians and others or Britishers. So whether the old game is different compared to the new game, or there are new proxies that are sort of involved, and you have 5 minutes. Thank you. I believe uh, the situation is totally different. So, for example, how we can change the situation. You talked about the South Asia system. That is from 1947. So, I think in Afghanistan, the the uh, fundamentals needs to be, for example, observed. So, for example, Turkey and Saudi Arabia, Iran, they have competitions, and obviously their competitions will have a sort of a impact on Afghanistan. So, the history books, if we read, we will find out about the more about the geopolitics of Afghanistan and the situation that Afghanistan had due to this issue in the past. So we have to make sure and have to create our policies and in a manner that we could be less impacted. I mean, in the long term, it may be possible, but in short term, how we can change the narrations and how to change the strategies to make it less harmful to us or have. So the fundamental issue that we currently should consider is the different narrations around us that there are and how the narrations that are at the regional level is sort of impacting us. We have to have a clear definition of that and clear visualization of it. We will hear from you as well. We will hear from the second speaker as well, and then we will take another question. So, is there a readiness at the political level? Do you see any will or commitment? Do you see any readiness from the political section of Afghanistan to deal with the geopolitical issues of Afghanistan? So when you're inviting somebody to lunch or something, you have to first see your own home, that what do you have and what you can offer to that person. We are a backward country in Asia. We have nothing. We don't have drinking water. We don't have sanitation. Our mosque is not clean. So we have too many other problems. What we have to do, and we don't have means. We cannot ignore our reality. We cannot ignore our history. Please don't mind. I know that we have a young generation and we have intelligent people, but we are the most 4 points of 4 points of we are the most 4 points of each civilization. For example, the civilization of India you mentioned, the civilization of China you mentioned. So I mean the that those civilizations are crossing this area, but we have to we have never considered our interest like throughout the history. Please, there is a question from the parliament member, I think. Okay. Uh, Please give him microphone. Thank you so much. I would like to ask a question. The my generation and the new generation, do they know the significance of the geopolitics? And so, and also my second question is whether our geopolitical location has been an asset for us, uh, or it has been a loss for us. And Afghanistan is a war-torn country, and still the national unity uh, government, we still cannot have a proper unity government. So, uh, I mean, what do you think that if we talk about the geopolitical interest of Afghanistan, and if we go furthermore into the deep of this issue, will it help the Afghanistan? Will it help Afghanistan or not at the current situation, or it will just increase the crisis furthermore? So. It has been 20 minutes that you are talking about. You are all talking about the geopolitics and geoeconomics. Uh, Countries like Afghanistan, they don't have like Afghanistan that don't have the financial stability. The countries that they don't have financial stability, do they have political stability or not? Or can they have a political independence or not if they don't have uh, financial stability? Okay, I would like to thank everyone, and thank you so much from your remarks, from my remarks, or the remarks of the speaker, no, from the remarks of the speaker. Uh, the geopolitics has been discussed in theory furthermore. In classic theories, it has been under the focus more. And also some of the theories were discussed earlier. Is Afghanistan an intersection point, or I mean, there had been a saying that Afghanistan is the intersection point, but what was the reason why the investment didn't took place here? I mean, there was never a sustainable investment here. So, we have heard this claim too many times, but for example, US is even from another part of the globe, that they have came to this place, and they are doing the investment. They are doing the investment, but that is not a long-term investment. So what is the reason behind this? So this is quite a long question, like your previous question. Uh, and about the nationalism, uh, distinguished speakers talked. So if we consider the 20th century, we had Amanullah Khan here. They, for example, defined an identity, or they selected an identity for this country. So can the geopolitics be reviewed to say this is okay? We will check all the questions together, and then we will respond one by one. One by one. Greetings and greetings everyone. My question is directed to Mr. Rahimi. Geopolitics can be quite important. You say that Afghanistan has geopolitics, and do you really think that, or do you think that someday Afghanistan will lose its geopolitical significance, and also can the world countries play a role in giving the Afghanistan geopolitical location quite more significance, or how they can do it? So if you could give us more information about this regard, that would be great. Greetings, my name is Jawad. My question can be answered by either by Mr. Hashimi or Mr. Rahimi. You talked about the geopolitical location of Afghanistan. So can geopolitics can the issue of geopolitics be discussed furthermore, and can be looked at it furthermore in the current context of the country, or so shall we, for example, focus on this issue more, or before that we have to deal with other issues and solve the other problems, and then come to the geopolitical issues? Thank you very, very much, distinguished speakers. The geopolitics, whether this is an asset or it is a disadvantage that currently Afghanistan has. And Mr. Hashimi, if you could please answer this. And about there was another question that the countries that they have a weak or they don't have financial stability, can we say that they have independence? And this question is directed to Mr. Ambassador. And also one another request from all of you distinguished speakers to please answer the question very briefly. Greetings once again, and thank you so much. Very specifically, if I could answer the question of my brother, uh, the geo geopolitics means, now some people are saying that geopolitics means globalization, or uh, so but mainly geopolitics means that how do other countries look at your country, and what are their interests, or what are your interests. That is all coming under the theme of geopolitics. So at the moment, Afghanistan has capacities. So if that could be utilized, so that will be, of course, having direct impact on the geopolitics. We have to do something, and opposite to the classical view that we shouldn't do something. No, we have to do a lot of things. See that Pakistan, they have good geopolitical interest to say, because they have a proper understanding of it, and so I mean this is an issue that we should not be postponing it, and we should work on it, and then we can be benefited from it. Otherwise, not. So, uh, so. So, for example, as much as we are dealing with new countries, with more countries, so that much our geopolitical interest is increasing. For example, when we are when we are making a partnership with a new country, so then it means that it means that our geopolitical interests have increased. So it is. Whenever that we are working regarding the geopolitical issues, it means that we are trying to make new ways. We are trying to open up new directions towards us. And also, briefly, I would like to answer other questions as well.
But if we say about the importance of the geopolitics position of Afghanistan, I mean, if we understand, or if we have good knowledge about geopolitics, so we could use geopolitics for our benefit. So it is that up to our management that we should use the resources that we have in hand, and also, I mean, the elite strata of Afghanistan, for instance, they owe the people that they should do proper management, and they should utilize the geopolitics of Afghanistan for the benefit of Afghanistan. Well, thank you so much. Well, Dr. Fatimi, if he was here, so he would say that, like, this is the, we will take one another question. Well, okay. We should, for instance, first think about the security. How should we utilize geopolitical position? I think you have seen Central Asia. So now, how can we utilize this position? What do we have? We can work on our economy. For instance, the product for instance, Iran can go toward China and Turkey, and so I mean we have some certain issues that we should consider, but the problems that we have experienced. So there are certain solutions that we can utilize. So the security situation has been now changed in the region, and we should keep aside the challenges, the internal challenges of Afghanistan, and we should use our geopolitics, especially for instance in provinces like Baghlan, Farah. For instance, we can have export and the route of Kabul, Herat, for instance. These are the very important geopolitical points in Afghanistan that we should utilize, and for instance, once upon a time, for instance, the private sector was not ready to bring the export from the lapis lazuli, and we do have geo-economical points that we should utilize. And I think, yes, of course, it can be realized, these geo-economical points. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, please. With regards to national identity, well, we can find its relevant documents in the history. So we have actually these documents. We have access to these documents that exist from the time from the history. And second element is to integrate different symbols. We have three different hypothetical cases, and the first one is that of course we are not the people to utilize our resources properly. Why we can't go forward? Why we can't do anything? So it is up to us. I mean, in Qatar, whose problem is going to be solved? Is it the problem of United States, Iran, Pakistan, and India, or is it our problem? United States has been constantly saying that I do not want any threat from Afghanistan. Like there should be no threat for the United States from Afghanistan. So when today morning a general said that we have a deep strategic dimension, so we should go in deep with regards to this strategy. Pakistan, they have also problems, and if we reach to an agreement, it would be in their interest as well. Even, God forbid, if it was to divide Afghanistan, so what? Or if there were problems between southern and western zones of Afghanistan, so what would have we done now? So if I do not have anything to export, so what can I do? So it is like we should find our objective and try to work for them. Well, thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you so much. Well, response to you is very brief, Mr. Saidi. I mean, no country in the world have economical independence. I mean, every country they have dependencies. You have studied international relations, so today countries they have a degree for dependencies. They do not have independencies because no one has proper independencies. I mean, like those countries that they do not have the power, they cannot even do politics. So the question, the answer is very easy. So it is a kind of interaction. For instance, they are working for their own interest, and then they were helping us, but in fact they were following their own interest. And and also uh, to institutionalize actually geopolitical terms in the country. This is much important. And here, if we study the history, for instance, I have studied Singapore. It was a very poor country. They didn't have good resources. They import everything. They do not have a mine. But today, they are using their geopolitics position and have become a popular country now. And Afghanistan requires a geopolitics understanding and a school of geopolitics. Well, once upon a time, I met the president in the Kabul University. We talked about the benefits of geopolitics of Afghanistan, and the president on that time he explained simultaneously 14 benefits of the geopolitics. Well, talking about Ustad Panchiri, thank you so much.